Okay, so in order to make my drip cake, I've just got 4 layers of vanilla sponge cake, and these just measure 6 inches in diameter. Now each cake is around an inch in height. I've also got a batch of vanilla buttercream, and I will put a link in the description below if you want the recipe to how I made this. So all I'm going to do to start is just fill my cake with the vanilla buttercream and just apply a crumb coat around the edge. Now a crumb coat is just a thin layer of buttercream which just locks any loose crumbs in. Now you don't want your crumb coat too thick, so I'm just going to go in with my metal scrapers. Now when you are covering your cake in your crumb coat, you just want to make sure that you're filling all those gaps between your cake layers so that there are no air bubbles, and just scrape some of that buttercream off so you're left with around 1 millimeter of buttercream around the edge. I'm then going to pop this in the fridge for around 15 minutes just for this first crumb coat just to harden slightly so we can add another coat of our buttercream. Okay, so I've taken my cake with the crumb coat out of the fridge and I'm just going to apply another layer of buttercream, and I've also coloured a small amount in pink. So what I'm going to do is have most of the cake in the lighter colour so that we can see the drips coming down, and I'm just going to add some of the pink at the bottom just to match some of my sprinkles that I'm going to be adding to the cake. Okay, so once we've got our cake covered in our coating of buttercream, I'm just going to take some of my pink buttercream and just using my offset spatula, I'm just going to pop a small amount of that pink over the top. And I'm just then going to go back in with my metal scraper and just scrape this pink all the way around the cake. Okay, so once your pink has been smoothed off, you're left with something that looks like this. So the next thing that I'm going to do is add some sprinkles to the bottom, and I'm just going to take some of these on a spoon or just using my hand, and I'm just going to push them just about 1 inch up so we get a nice border around the bottom. Now I don't want them too straight, so I just want a nice higgledy-piggledy band. Now I'm adding my sprinkles on before I put this in the fridge to chill, just so that my sprinkles will stick to that buttercream. Now I'm putting on as many sprinkles as I can with the spoon, and then any that fall onto the border, I'm just using the bottom of my hand just to push those against the buttercream. Okay, so now we've got that nice sprinkle border at the bottom of our cake, and I've cleared away all the excess sprinkles. I'm just going to pop this in the fridge for around half an hour just for that buttercream to completely firm up so that we'll be able to add our coloured drip. Okay, so now for the fun part, adding the drip to our cake. Now we have lots of different options for adding the drip. The first one is if you wanted a pure white drip or a coloured drip, you could use royal icing. Now you can colour royal icing with gel colours so you can get it the exact colour you want. Alternatively, you could use candy melts. Now these are already coloured, so here we've got some pink ones, so you could melt these down and add these to your cake. Sometimes these can be slightly thick, so you might want to add some vegetable oil to those just to thin them out. Another alternative option is to create some chocolate ganache. Now you've got different options. You could either make it milk chocolate or dark chocolate so you get this nice dark colour, or you could create a white chocolate ganache. Now with your white chocolate ganache we can colour this. Now you can't add water-based colours to chocolate. So this is your kind of gel colors or your liquid food colorings. These all contain water, and when added to chocolate can make it go crumbly, and you'll notice that it will stop flowing as normal chocolate would. So the best thing to color white chocolate is either to use an oil-based food color or to colour it with edible tints. Now these are just edible powdered tints that you would use if you were dusting onto flowers, for example. So this is the method that I'm going to use on this cake. So I've just got some white chocolate here, which I've broken down into smaller pieces, and some double cream, and I'm just going to create a thin ganache to use for those drips. Now, if you're making milk chocolate or dark chocolate ganache, you want a ratio of 1 to 1. So for 100 grams of chocolate, you would need 100 ml of cream. Now, for the white chocolate, I'm just going to use 150 grams of chocolate to 100 ml of my double cream. So I'm going to go ahead and heat up my double cream until it's boiling and add it to my chocolate. Now, once they're all combined, you're left with this nice runny mixture, which will make the perfect drip. So the next thing to do is colour this. I'm going to create a purple drip just to match some of those sprinkles. So I'm going to take this grape violet powder colour and just add some of that. Now I'm also just going to add a small hint of pink and a tiny amount of blue, just with that purple, just to bring that shade out. So once that ganache is coloured, I'm just going to leave that to one side just until it gets to room temperature. So we still want it at a nice drip consistency that is not going to melt that buttercream when we apply it to the cake. Now, if your ganache does start to set because you've left it for a bit too long, you can just pop it in the microwave for an interval around 10 seconds just to melt slightly and become this nice runny consistency. Okay, so I've just taken my cake out of the fridge, and as you can see, the buttercream has just firmed up to the touch. So I've just got an 8-inch drum board here, which I've just covered with some white icing, and I'm just going to first transfer my cake onto my board. I'm then just going to take a piping bag and just pop that into a glass. I can then pop my purple chocolate ganache into my piping bag. Now I'm just going to cut the end, so around 5mm from the bottom. I can then start applying the drips onto my cake. Now for your drip cakes, you can completely cover the top and go down the sides. For this one, I'm just going to go around the edge about 1 centimetre in, just because I will be putting some buttercream decorations on the top and adding some sprinkles. Okay, so for the drip, I'm just going to start around my top edge. I'm then going to go in with my piping bag and just place that on the edge of my cake, just applying pressure to the bag, but stopping when my drips are around 1 inch in length. They can then drip further down the cake. I'm just spacing my drips about 1 centimetre apart. Now once those drips have started to dry, I'm just going to go back in with some of my sprinkles, and just using a pair of tweezers, I'm just going to add some of those sprinkles onto those drips, and I'm just going to work my way all the way around. So once all your sprinkles are added, you have something that looks like this. So the last thing that I'm going to finish this cake off with is some buttercream swirls on the top. I've just got some pink buttercream that matches buttercream that we added onto the cake. I've then just got a 6B piping tip. Now this one just has this open star end. I'm going to create a continuous swirl going all the way around so you get this nice border. So I'm just going to fill my piping bag With my buttercream, all I'm going to do is choose a position on the cake to start with, and just as you would pipe a rosette on a cupcake, so starting from the center, working my way out, just doing one rotation to create a swirl. I'm then going to move the cake round slightly and continue, so I'm creating a new swirl every time that they're all joined together. Now if you need to stop piping, make sure that your piping tip is at the bottom, and this just means that you can continue from that position. And for the last one, I'm just going to come round and tuck it underneath the first rosette that we created. I can then cover my rosettes in some more of my sprinkles. So here we have our finished cake, which is covered in sprinkles, a nice purple drip, and our buttercream swirls. I really hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial. If you have, then don't forget to give this video a like, and if you haven't already, you can subscribe to the Cakes by Lane's YouTube channel. I'll also put a link in the description below to all my social media, and a link where you can find all the tools that I used in today's video. So until next time, bye!